You're under arrest for ignoring a cabin permit fee. That's the line that blasted through my living room one morning, echoing off the lake. As 4 police cars rolled up to our peaceful little retirement spot, sirens off, but tension high. And if you're picturing some hardened criminal, think again. This all started because my wife, Miriam, supposedly owed a $500 fine for painting our dock the wrong color. And the woman behind this circus? Karen Sterling, the kind of HOA president who thinks a clipboard gives her more power than a judge's gavel. But what Karen didn't know was that Miriam spent her life as a federal judge, facing down actual criminals and lawyers who'd eat Karen for breakfast. This was about to get interesting. You know what I mean? Let me back up a sec. I'm Robert Kane. 35 years as a high school principal, I thought I'd seen every flavor of control freak and petty tyrant. Turns out, I was just getting started. After paying off our city home and raising 2 daughters, Miriam and I moved to Lakeview Highlands, chasing the promise of lazy mornings, fishing at sunrise, and maybe some actual peace. We should have known we were in trouble the day Karen showed up, pink clipboard, razor-sharp red nails, and the kind of smile you'd expect from a used car salesman. Just so you know, I personally enforce all standards here. We've had issues with city people who don't understand our way of life. I trust you won't be a problem. That was her welcome speech. And Miriam just smiled, that judge's poker face on. Oh, we're simple folks, just hoping for some peace. Karen's eyes narrowed, like she was sniffing out a threat. We barely finished unpacking before the fine started rolling in. Trash can pulled in at 10:01 a.m., $50. Mailbox flag wrong shade of red, $25. Our garden gnome, 4.2 inches tall instead of 4. Written warning, complete with a ruler and a lecture. Each violation felt like a slap, but Miriam didn't flinch. She just jotted everything in her little black journal, polite as could be, never arguing, just collecting evidence. That drove Karen crazy. Why aren't you mad? I asked one night, pacing. Miriam smiled, all cool confidence. Sometimes you let a bully think they're winning. That's when they make mistakes. 2 weeks in, our dock needed repainting. The previous owners let it peel, so Miriam spent 2 days sanding and painting it a gorgeous ivory white. It was perfect. That's when Karen stomped over, tape measure and paint swatches in hand. Ivory isn't beige. Violation of Standard CS 73. She slapped a $500 fine on our doors so hard it rattled. I was ready to give up. Miriam, though, folded that notice into her journal, eyes glinting. Patience, Robert. Justice takes time. The next morning, Karen arrived with backup, 2 board members trailing behind like hostages. She planted herself on our porch and announced, I am the law in this community. Miriam, in her robe, mug in hand, stared her down and said, Actually, Karen, you have no such authority. Then closed the door in her face. Karen's scream could have shattered glass, but she didn't stop. 3 days later, we got served with a lawsuit, $2,000 for destroying community property, with a demand to repaint our dock. For the first time, Miriam looked worried. Maybe we should just give in, I said. She shook her head. Bullies never stop at one win. This isn't about the dock. It's about standing up for ourselves. After that, Miriam became obsessed with following every rule perfectly, measuring trash can placement, timing the lawn mower, ordering the exact shade of mailbox flag. Karen started circling our house, desperate to catch us slipping, but Miriam's compliance was flawless. Here's where things twisted. One night, Mrs. Park from down the street knocked on our door. She's done this before, she whispered over tea. The Hendersons left after Karen tore up their vegetable garden. Most folks are scared to say anything. Suddenly, it wasn't just about us. Karen's campaign was about power, keeping everyone divided, afraid. Then came the forged property lien notice, $5,000, taped to our door. Miriam scanned it and said, This is criminal fraud. HOAs can't just create liens like this. That night, she made 3 phone calls to the county clerk, to the FBI, and to an old law clerk. Justice, Robert, she said quietly. Real justice. But Karen was ramping up, too. Next morning, every mailbox had a glossy flyer. Warning. New resident Miriam Kane. Disgraced judge, corrupt, dangerous. Complete with fake headlines and made-up quotes. Our neighbors started avoiding us. Miriam? She calmly posted her entire public record and commendations on the community board. The tide turned. People realized Karen's lies went deeper than anyone guessed. With her smear campaign backfiring, Karen tried her nuclear option. She called the cops, demanding Miriam's arrest. Officer Rodriguez arrived, taking in the scene. A frazzled Karen, violation notices fanned out like playing cards, and Miriam, weeding the garden. "Do you have proof you can paint your dock ivory?" he asked. "No," Miriam said, "but I have the authority to determine who's breaking the law." Then she handed over her federal judicial ID. Rodriguez's eyes went wide. "Wait, you're Judge Miriam Kane?" Karen's face drained of color. Officer Rodriguez, realizing the gravity, radioed for backup and began a harassment report on Karen. It only got worse for her. Miriam turned over weeks of notes, photos, documents, evidence of systematic fraud, election tampering, fake fines, embezzlement. The FBI uncovered that Karen hadn't been legally elected in 3 years. She'd forged emergency orders to keep herself in power, funneled community funds to her family, and manipulated residents through threats and lies. It was organized crime, hiding behind block parties and landscaping memos. Once the community saw the truth, the stories poured out. Mr. Kim fined $300 for his Korean stone lantern. Sarah threatened with eviction for her kid's sidewalk chalk. Mrs. Henderson's garden destroyed. Miriam organized an emergency meeting, 47 signatures, more than enough. At the meeting, Karen tried her old tricks, but neighbors stood up. "We know about the missing money," Tom Wilson announced. Miriam laid out the facts like a closing argument. Karen snapped, lunged for the evidence, screaming lies. And then, mid-meltdown, collapsed, clutching her chest. Miriam, ever the judge and now the first responder, started CPR, saving the very woman who tried to destroy her. After the ambulance left, apologies poured in. "We believed her lies," they said, "but you showed us what justice looks like." But Karen wasn't done. Fresh out of the hospital, she sent Miriam flowers and a note begging for forgiveness. Miriam saw the setup coming. At the dock, scene of the original crime, Karen staged a confrontation, secretly recording, trying to make Miriam look like the aggressor. Miriam just pulled out her own recorder. "I've documented everything, Karen, including your confessions." Game, set, match. But then Tyler, Karen's son, came after us. Threats, legal filings, a formal ethics complaint against Miriam, trying to destroy her reputation. For a moment, doubt crept in. But the investigation kept going. The FBI connected Karen to similar schemes in Florida, Arizona, Colorado, each time moving on when things got hot. Tyler, meanwhile, had been caught vandalizing property, harassing residents, and bragging about stealing HOA money. The whole community rallied around Miriam. Mrs. Park led us stand with Judge Kane event. Residents sent statements to the FBI. I finally understood Miriam could have ended this with one phone call, but she wanted to do it the right way. "That's the difference between justice and revenge," she told me, tired but satisfied. And finally, the arrests. Federal agents rolled in one Tuesday morning, Karen and Tyler taken away, the community watching as justice was served. Both took plea deals. Karen got 18 months in prison, banned from any HOA for life, ordered to pay back every dollar. Tyler got 6 months in probation. The first real election in years followed. Mrs. Park became president, ridiculous rules were scrapped, and democracy returned. 6 months later, Karen's old house was filled with laughter from a young family. Miriam repainted our dock, not beige, not ivory, but soft pastels that shimmered on the water, finally at peace. One morning, the new neighbor's little girl asked, "Are you the judge lady who stopped the mean lady?" Miriam smiled. "I used to be. Now I'm just your neighbor." And that's what it comes down to. Justice isn't just about laws. It's about neighbors finding their voices, standing up to bullies, and choosing courage over fear. If you've ever dealt with a Karen in your community, you know the fight isn't always fair, but it's always worth it. Now, I want to hear your story. Have you faced a bully like Karen? Was justice served? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about what real community means, and whether true justice is ever really the end or just the beginning.